and welcome to Lolly's Kitchen. This is so weird. Hello friends, and welcome to Lolly's Kitchen. This is so weird just saying hi. I don't know why. So today is going to be a little bit of laughter and a lot of fun. So I hope you're enjoying this time that you're spending with me, because I'm really enjoying having you with me. So if you would like to see these and get notified when new videos come up, please click the subscribe button. So it's down here, I think over here. So if you want, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notifications whenever new videos come out. I'm going to try to do these about once a week. We're still figuring out the processing and trying to get the timing down, so hopefully they'll be dropping once a week. So I'm so glad that you joined me today. Well, welcome to November. So this morning the puppers didn't get the notification that it was daylight savings time. So we've been up pretty early since early this morning. We have a husky shepherd mix, and she thinks because she has the ability to talk that she should sing us awake in the morning. So we had a little serenade this morning from our little friend Ahi. So lots of fun. I don't know. Anyway, so I woke up this morning with an extra hour and I was contemplating, great, another hour of 2020, awesome. So that's the sarcastic, pessimistic side of me. And then the optimistic side comes up and says, but wait, we have another hour. So we have another hour to share love and share joy and share kindness with our friends and family in this world. So let's take advantage of it. One thing I've learned, that if I'm in a bad mood, when I go out and I'm nice to somebody, it really has a great reciprocal effect. So when I'm nice to somebody, I find that I feel better, I have fun with it. And you know, some people just don't want to be nice and just don't want joy to infect them. But I think if we're going to work into a pandemic type world where we're worried about infection, I think we should infect each other with love and kindness. So try to be good out there today with that extra hour. Look at it as an opportunity, not as a downer, and go out and just be kind with everybody that you run into. Well, maybe just make it a point to be kind to one person, and maybe that will spiral down and we'll have this whole domino effect of kindness. All right, let's get started today. Okay, one thing I have learned while I am videoing and watching this, I realize my grammar is not the best. And I use so a lot. My producer was just telling me I probably said maybe 20 so's in just that little opening thing. So buckle up, Buttercup, we're on the so train. Here we go. Choo-choo. All right, so really, why are we here? We're here because it's fall, y'all. So we are gonna get our pumpkin spice on today. So we are gonna make some pumpkin spice copycat Starbucks scones. So, I don't know what I'm getting. I must be saying a lot of so's. So here we go. Woo! All right. So now I'm good. Wow, we can make this an eggnog game. Every time you hear so, you can take a drink of eggnog, or if you have it. So here we go. I gotta get myself under control here. Okay. Boy, what's a substitute for so? If you know, put it in the comments and then I'll try to incorporate that word. Maybe I need to get a dictionary or something. But here we go again. All right. And so just wants to roll right out. We are going to do copycat pumpkin spice scones from Starbucks. When I go into the Starbucks or walk by the store, I see them in the case and they look so yummy, but they're also really, really big. I went and I looked them up for the recipe, and not only the ingredients were in there, which they look pretty straightforward. The only thing that looked really scary was the nutritional content of it. There is a lot of fat, a lot of calories, a lot of sugar, a lot. So what we're going to do now is, I almost did a so. What we're going to do now is we are going to make these scones, but in a smaller portion. Starbucks also has these little tiny scones that are vanilla bean, and they're just about the right bite size. So when I'm at the airport and I want something just sweet, like a small sweet, I'll get one of those, and that'll usually take care of that sweet tooth that I have. That's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna take this recipe, we're gonna cut it down, we're gonna make it into smaller bite-sized scones, and we can eat what we want now, hopefully not the whole batch, and then put the rest in the freezer and then maybe thaw them when guests come over, that sort of thing. That's one of the things that this channel is supposed to be about. It's about not only cooking, you can get a cooking channel anywhere. This is about entertaining, hopefully some fun, some laughs, and it's also about opening up your house and making it warm and inviting for people. So if somebody stops by unexpected, maybe you have some scones in the freezer and you can just take a couple of them out, put on a pot of coffee or tea if you drink tea, and then you can just sit down and have a chat with your friend. That's what this all should be about right now, is just connecting with other human beings, having some fun, and keeping that relationship alive. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and begin with our dry ingredients. The ingredients are going to come up on the screen. We're going to start with 2 cups of flour, all-purpose flour, and then we're going to incorporate into the flour all of our dry ingredients. So what we have is we have ginger, we have nutmeg, cloves, cinnamon, yummy cinnamon, and then we also have some other ingredients like baking soda and baking powder. And those ingredients should be on your screen so that you can write them down. They're all there. One thing you may know on this recipe, I am choosing to double up on the spices, not only the spices. When you bake, it's really important you follow the measurements for baking soda, flour, and baking powder, because that helps the dough rise and it bake well. But the spices, you can add more. So when I do some baking, I look around at many different recipes just to decide, like even for this one, I think, oh, it's a copycat. How many choices could there be? Well, there's about 3. So I picked and chose from the ones that I liked, and then I put those ingredients into this. So one of the tips I saw on one of the sites was the fact that they felt that the recipe needed to have more spices, so they recommended doubling the spices. I'm a big fan of that. Anytime I see dry ingredients, I usually double spices. Again, spices. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to mix this together in this really small bowl. And we're just mixing these around just so that they're not going to have kind of like a spice hot spot, so you're not going to get more of a big chunk of cloves in one spot than the other. The ginger, you know, you just want to have it nicely mixed in. I should have chose a bigger bowl, but this one works. And then I'm going to add my salt in here and mix that around too. Okay. So salt I wouldn't double, and the other ingredients I wouldn't double those. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to do in another bowl is we're going to add our pumpkin puree. So it's 1/2 cup of pumpkin puree. I do have my recipe here because, as I said, I'm not, this I haven't done by heart. So we're going to move that in. I don't have my spatula, so I'm using a different kind of spatula. And then we're going to mix in an egg, 1 large egg. Oh, and I just, sad day, I just spilled my vanilla. We'll add a little bit more vanilla. Alright, so we are going to mix this all together. Okay, since we're working with real pumpkin, we put our fake pumpkins away because they were taking over the shot. So we are going to move into adding this, and then I have 3 tablespoons of milk that I'm going to add in. My cleanup crew is here waiting for something to drop. So I told you about our one dog, Ahi. She's the husky talker, and then we have a boxer pit bull mix, and he thinks he can talk because his sister talks, so he has a funny dialect to his little speech. All right, so I looked at a couple recipes. One recipe said that I could do this with my hands in a bowl and mix the flour and the butter together that way. The butter is cold, so it's a little bit harder to incorporate. I did a test batch and it was harder for me to move that together. Another recipe I looked at said you could use a food processor. So, you know, I always opt for easy as much as I can. So when you, that's the one thing about entertaining and doing these types of things. You know, you want to make it, first off, don't start with the hardest recipe. Don't go to like the Cordon Bleu website and download some hard recipe to start with, because you know that's like going to the gym for the first time and doing 1,000 squats or something and not being able to walk the next day. You always want to start off a little bit easier and work your way up as you build your confidence. So that's what we're gonna do. So I am going to use my food processor. If you don't have a food processor, obviously you could do it by hand, or you might even be able to use the mixer. But I'm gonna put my food processor and put all the dry ingredients in there. And then I'm gonna add my butter. So I have 1 stick of butter chilled that I cut up into cubes. And I just cut it like it's on the butter package where it has tablespoon increments. That's all I did. And then we're gonna go ahead and put this on, and then I'm gonna go ahead and pulse this until it's in a coarse mixed up granule type thing. So it'll look like a beginning of a dough. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. As any proper chef goes, you know, you should have all your pieces to your tools that you're using. I don't have the top to this, so my hand is working as the top. So we are going to just, this one even has a dough button. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And then I'm gonna look inside. It wasn't too loud. I was afraid it was gonna be too loud and you couldn't hear me. So I'm gonna look inside here and see what I got. Man, those spices just scream, this is fall, and I love it. The smell of cloves and pumpkin and cinnamon all mixed together, that's great. Okay, so if you can see this, do you see how there's the granules? It's not just the same texture as flour. It's got, you can tell that the butter is actually incorporated in there. All right, there we go. And then the next thing we're gonna do is, I have already preheated my oven to 400 degrees, so we did that, so it's coming up to temperature while I'm doing all this. And then now I'm going to add in my other ingredients here. So I'm gonna add in my pumpkin. You might hear some chewing in the background. We're keeping the kids happy with a chew toy. At least one of them. One of them's down waiting for something to fall. All right. Now we're going to mix this together. Oops. If cooking isn't messy, then there's something wrong with it. So we are going to just mix this together until it looks like a dough. I don't want to over mix it. So at this point, I think I'm going to take it out, and I am just going to wipe up my workspace just a little bit. And then I am going to go ahead and get my kneading whatever placemat thingy out, and we're going to do that in just a second. Okay, so I dumped my mixture onto this paper, which is it's actually like a slippery kneading paper. I'm sure there's a technical term for it. It's just escaping me right now. I probably have a whole bunch of slows going through my brain, which is taking up the space of everything else. And we are going to mix this together. So what I need to do is I knead it for 3 to 4 times is what the recipe says, until all of the mixture is incorporated together, or it comes together, the recipe says. What we're doing is we're getting all the dry ingredients mixed into this dough, and we don't want to over knead it, so I'm trying to count here. It's funny, when I was a kid, we weren't allowed to say like. My grandma used to say that, and so every time we said like, we had to put like a, now I'm going to say like, we had to put a coin in a jar, and so I got done saying like, and so now I say so, and it's kind of like having Tourette's. They just kind of pop out. So there you go. All right, we have this incorporated in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to form this into a rectangle. The recipe is kind of technical. It says 5 by 7, no, 10 by 7, and then we're going to cut it and that sort of thing. So basically what we're going to do is however you want to get to little triangles, you feel free to do that. I'm going to use my rolling pin. I'm going to put some flour on it, just not to stick, and I'm going to roll this out. Okay, I have been working with this just to try to get it into, well, I was so focused on a rectangle that I think I'm a little bit thinner than an inch. And it's okay, honestly. The test batch that I did, it did rise a little bit, so I think that this is going to be fine. All right, now we are going to cut this, and we're going to cut it into, we're going to do one horizontal line across here. And then if you were going to do bigger scones, you would cut this into 4 additional squares. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it a little bit smaller so I can get a little bit more out of this, just so that I just get a little bit more. So that's 3, 6, 8. This should be good. We have more though. 2, 4, 6, 8. We have 10, so we went a little bit smaller, not too terribly much. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cut them into triangles from here. So I'm just going to go across like this and just go across like this. If you are a perfectionist, this is step 1, give up perfection. I am a recovering perfectionist. I speak from experience. So this is good therapy. And you know what? As long as it tastes good, it doesn't have to look good. All right, so we have these cut up into our little triangles, which I think those look pretty good. They look like they'll be scones. Some are a little smaller than the other ones. Like this one's a little bit bigger. And you know, if I really wanted to make this smaller, I could just cut it again. And that's what I'm gonna do. How about that? I actually like that size a little bit better. So I could do that with more, but that was my bigger one on the end. So now I ended up with quite a bit more, which is great. Now I'm going to get my cookie sheet and I am going to put a silicone bottom piece in it so that these don't stick, or you could use parchment paper if you don't have that. Okay. We are gonna go ahead and put these on. Now I have my silicone mats down on my cookie sheet. Nice thing about this, it's non-skid or non-stick, that's the word I want. It won't skid anywhere either unless they get a little crazy in the oven. But these are really great on sale, usually at Costco, and they're great gifts if you have somebody like you want to get into doing this for Christmas. Ask for it. They're pretty inexpensive. I'm using a cookie spatula, so it is a little more flimsy, so easy to pick up, and it's very thin to grab these underneath. So I'm going to just put these on. I don't have to spread them out terribly big because they don't spread, they just rise. And they don't rise a whole lot either. I tell you, this is getting ready for the holidays is what I really love to do. We had Halloween last night. We had quite a few trick-or-treaters, which was amazing to see a little sense of normal coming back to the world. Kids were a little hesitant at first, but we had some hot chocolate with marshmallows for them. It was a cold night here, like maybe 45 degrees, and so it warmed their hands up. As soon as you say hot chocolate with marshmallows to a little kid, that will light their face up. Had some coffee, just normal coffee, nothing spiked for the adults, but they were happy to have that too. So really great night. So waking up this morning with the crisp air, it just really made me want to get into a warm cup of coffee with a scone, and I thought, well, let's try a pumpkin one, and so that's what I woke up wanting to do today. I did end up getting it for breakfast. So I'm putting my last one down here. Now we're going to go ahead and put these in the oven. The oven's up to temperature 400 degrees. That's what the recommended temperature is on the recipe. You should know your oven. Does it cook hot? Does it cook normal? And just watch them. It usually gives you a range of where you're putting your baked goods in the oven, so this is 10 to 12 minutes. I always start with the first number and then work my way up, and it can always go longer, but you can never take away time. See my face? You can't take away time. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put this in the oven for 10 minutes. All right, 10 minutes are up. Let's check these. Oh, these look amazing. Okay, so these look pretty good. I think they look just like the last batch. So they have a little brown on it, and I do need to test them, and I forgot to grab, hold on one second. I forgot my toothpick. So I'm gonna look for one of the chubbier ones. Oh, yeah, it's done, looks good. I'm gonna test a couple of them. So see my toothpick, it's clean. That's what you're looking for, a clean toothpick. All right, so we do need to let these cool for probably about 10 minutes, just so that the icing doesn't just slide right off. And we are gonna go ahead and, so you wanna let it cool for 10 minutes, and then we're gonna do 2 icings. One icing is just a plain old white icing, and then the other icing we're gonna add some flavors into it, so some spices into it to give it a 2-tone look. So we're gonna go for that whole Starbucks look. So I'm gonna get my ingredients for my icing, and I will be right back. Okay, so now we're making the icing for the scones. So I am taking 1 cup of powdered sugar, and I've mixed it with 2 tablespoons of milk. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. And then I have taken that, I stirred it with a flat whisk. I really like a flat whisk. It's great for doing that. And then I took that and I divided it in half, and then I added some spices to it. And the spices that we're adding to here for a different color are 1/4 of a teaspoon of cloves, 1/4 of a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, all added in here. There might be ginger, and I'll let you know on the recipe, but I forgot and I closed my recipe, so I think those are the only spices in there. So we have that in there. So this has been 10 minutes, they're cooled. What I'm gonna do is I'm just going to dip them into my frosting, just like that. And the nice thing about this is if you have imperfections, it hides everything. It's pretty amazing how that happens. So we are gonna go ahead and dip these, and they look really good. And then when my other batch comes out of the oven, I'm gonna go ahead and use this for that, or my other batch is over here. Once it reaches its temperature, cools off, I'm gonna dip those as well. These are the ones that I have already let sit, so the icing has set. And now I am just gonna drizzle a little bit of this icing over it. So it's gonna give it a 2-tone, hopefully, appearance. And to do a little bit of a drip. This is not perfect, it's just fun. So I've been thinking about how these would freeze or how these would keep, and the recipe says that they don't freeze well, and I started thinking about that, and I started thinking, I don't see a lot of Pillsbury Doughboys at Starbucks in back whipping up fresh scones. Don't read into that comment, by the way. And I thought, you know, they probably take these from the freezer and put them out for everybody. So I think that you can freeze them just fine, and freeze them and they will be just fine. Now, I think these look pretty good. It's a nice contrast. It's kind of funny. It's my frosting and my scone actually complement my plate pretty well. And I just had an idea while I was standing here thinking I want a little bit more pop of color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cinnamon and I'm just going to lightly dust the top, maybe. Oh, there we go. With some cinnamon. If you don't like cinnamon, don't do this, but I like cinnamon. Just give it a little something, and then if you want to clean up your plate, you can. Otherwise, there's just a little extra there. So there you go. There are our pumpkin spice scones. If you're English, we'll say that. But But otherwise, we are all done. Now we're ready to brew up a nice pot of coffee or a cup of tea, and we will sit down and have some fun and talk to friends or whoever we can grab off the street because we just are lonely and need people to come visit us. No, I'm just kidding. Don't grab strangers off the street. I think there's a law against that. So anyway, be the change that you want to be in this world. So if you want to see kindness and nice and smiles, then show that. We learn from example, not from what people tell us, so to speak. So thank you all. God bless and have a great night.